All right, hey, what's up, guys? I just finished editing a new video today, and I'm just gonna, give you a brief overview what it's gonna be about, and then I'll let you guys see if it's something that well, if you clicked on the video, then you're kind of going based off of the title without really knowing what it's about. Like, hopefully, you have some idea, but I'm just giving a quick introduction so that you actually know what it is that today's video is about. Um, so today's video is about how to do some kind of game development, and this is something like I don't really know personally that much about, but it's something that I think is getting easier because they're making it more open source. They're making it so that uh, I guess somebody with a little bit of software and background knowledge on software could use to get started with. And I think that's the way things are going nowadays. Is that there's a lot more things that are going to be open source. Obviously, depending what type of job you have or what type of work you're in, you might use open source on your resume. But long story short, I'm going to be working on today getting you guys started on the Unreal Engine 4, 4.23 release of the Unreal Engine editor. So I just finished editing today's video, and I thought it might give you a quick, better introduction before I kind of jump in without knowing, without explaining what it's going to be about. So, hopefully you guys have that from discussion so far. And if you have questions as the video progresses, or if you get stuck on anything, I want you guys to be able to just shoot me a question through the YouTube app or the comments section, and I may not have time, or I may not actually reply to all of them, but if there's some questions where somebody gets stuck, or they're really trying their best to get through a certain part, and they can't, I'll gladly try to help you through that. But I don't think it's gonna be that difficult. You may be on Mac or Windows, in which case this video isn't as relevant to you guys. It's mostly people like myself who are just like have been using Linux for a longer period of time, and their usual day-to-day operating system is for Linux. And so that's the initial background that I wanted to give. And beyond that, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you guys learn something, and I hope you guys have fun getting started. It took me a while, but once I got through the steps, I was way more excited than just when I started out. And I'm kind of cheating because I've already a few years back I tried doing this before. So 2 years back, when they were on version 4.11, a couple of years back is when I first tried looking at this. But to be honest, I didn't spend quite that much time going deeper into it. So I'm kind of just back to square one, and that may be where a lot of you guys are at. So hopefully it benefits you guys, and and I can get some good feedback and comments from after you're able to do, or even after you just watch the video. So that's it. That's the introduction, and I'll just let it get started now. Hey, what's up, guys? This video that I'm starting, it's basically gonna get into. It's gonna be another video about how to work in the Unreal Engine 4 development environment. I did a video on this a while ago, and probably about 2 years ago, actually. And um, I actually I'm not sure how useful the video was, but I wanted to do another one just because that video, I think they simplified the steps first of all, and I pretty much like nuked my development environment since the last time I did that video. So this time around, I'm basically going to go through it again, and I'm going to set up like the IDE again, and I'm using the same development environment, the host operating system, but I think they support it for various different kinds. So whether you're a Mac or Windows or whatever operating system it is that you're running, I'm pretty sure that they support it, but I'm just gonna go with the Linux one just because like that's for me, like that's what I'm most familiar with. Um, so it's gonna be a bit of it. It's gonna be I'm hoping it doesn't get too lengthy. I've gone through this little README, and it seems a little simpler than what I had it last time. And my objective in this is just to get the IDE running. And once I get to that point, I'll probably create another video once I've gotten to that point where it's checked out all the source code and built the IDE. And probably at some point I'll try creating a project. Now this is obviously something that you can create, that you can get to on your own time. But I'm just gonna walk through it, and I'm just gonna show like myself kind of going through those hurdles, so that maybe if you follow a similar procedure, that maybe that this might either help you out, or you'll find it interesting, or something like that. So I'm just gonna go. So where I'm at right now is pretty much step one, and I'm gonna go here. It explains this. So if you jump down to somewhere about here, it explains that you need to go to their GitHub site, and you actually need to log into your. I guess that you also have to register for this Epic Games thing, which I'm already inside. So before this, I spent a bit of time to set all that up. So I'm just gonna go right there now, and maybe under Documents, I'm gonna go to make something called UE4, and then I'm gonna go to UE4, and then I'm gonna start with step one and clone the whole thing. Let me try that again. All right. I'll probably edit this out at some point. Or no, I try. I think I gotta put in my real email address. Come on. And it's gonna kick me out. Oh no, it worked. All right, so yeah, you guys get to see my real email address, and yeah, I hope this doesn't take. I kind of remember this taking a really long time, so maybe I'll edit that out too. But I think the cool thing about this development environment, and the reason I want to do it, is because it's actually seen in a lot of different games. So I don't know if they're going to update it to version 5.0 or what have you, but just in general, like yeah, you obviously like work and do other things, and but you don't get a lot of spare time to do things like this, and I think it's interesting, and it needs a community to maintain it, obviously. So um, just let's see where it gets at. Let's see where it gets to, and I'll probably resume the video when it's done checking out the source code, and then we'll just go from there. We'll see how the setup process goes. Obviously, like, this might take quite a while. It's going kind of slow right now, but hopefully it speeds up. It's only going at 90 or 100 and something kilobytes per second. So that looks like it's going to take a while. So I'm going to let this clone and then resume the video when it's done. and then we'll see whether or not how easy it is to install it just based on the setup script, and we'll see how easy it is to set up our first project and all of that. All right, what up, guys? I'm back recording again. And what had happened was I had left off, and I had just left my computer running for a few hours. It actually had to run overnight, but it did end up finishing. And as you can see right now, it took about 3.6 gigs, and it was going pretty slow. So it took a few hours and had to let it run overnight. So in your case, if you're doing the same thing, hopefully it goes a bit faster for you. So I'm just following through the next steps, and I was also looking at the comparison of the steps from Windows to Mac to Linux, and it explains it in slightly different steps. Obviously, it's different platforms, but it looks like we're going through the setup command in each case. For Mac, you might be using Xcode. For Windows, you might be using, I guess, Visual Studio. And it does say that it says the clean download of the engine binaries is 3 to 4 gigabytes. And it also says that compiling may take anywhere between 14 and 40 minutes. Sorry, 15 and 40 minutes depending on your system. So based on what I recall from doing this a while ago, it did take about an hour. So again, after I run the setup script, I'll probably just leave it for an hour. It's nothing interesting, but you can also see now that the source code is there. That's going to build the development environment, and you can see that the setup script is there. So I'll continue on with the primary tutorial, and just again trying to understand step by step. So we have a copy. During the tutorial, you'll get to run several utilities to build a binary of Unreal Engine 4. They use Ubuntu, but we may not support other Linux distributions, including other versions of Ubuntu. We'll see. I'm not running Ubuntu, but I'm running something pretty similar to Ubuntu. So maybe the reason that my other video, the tutorial that I was using in that video, they kind of took down the let's say the reference tutorial. They took down the reference tutorial so that you could build it. So I kind of thought it was out of date, but here they're saying they just use Ubuntu, so I'm hoping there's not like hiccups that might occur. So I'm just gonna run the setup script, see how far it gets. If it's missing something, then we might have to figure out what, but we'll see how this goes. I just want to have a look at their setup script. Okay, so it is setting up mono. I kind of remember something about that, but I remember I had to do a bunch of manual steps, so maybe I'm hoping as much of this is automatic as possible, but I'm just learning about. I think mono is something that makes Linux and Windows look the same. All right, that's as far as I'm probably gonna go. I'm gonna assume this is gonna take a while, so again, I will probably resume the video when it's getting ready for the next step, which is to generate project files, and then the last step looks like it's gonna be to build the editor. So this will probably take about, I'm hoping like 1 or 2 hours or less, and then obviously I'm not, I for the learning I won't skip over any key steps, but we'll just go according to this and then see how it goes. All right, so we'll fast forward to the next checkpoint and sync up again once this is over. Thanks. All right, hey guys, I'm back with the continuation part of the video, and last time we left off, and I had just run the setup.sh script, and I was expecting that it was going to take some time, and so we're following up at the generate project files, and I'll just go through quickly, and I'll show you what the output looked like for the setup.sh. You can see it installed a whole bunch of files for the Clang application, a lot of files, but it's just dumping the output, so it's kind of expected. It was about 600 megs in total, and before that, it also downloaded another about 11,000 megs, which is a lot more. But anyways, it eventually completed, and it asked for my password authentication. So after this finished, I had noticed that, and then I just left this running in the background for a while. So I'll go to the next step and see how that goes. It's just to generate the project files. So the script is obviously there as expected, and I'm just gonna start running it. And again, I'm not sure how long I'm supposed to expect for this to take, but I guess on the flip side, we'll probably see just how long it takes, and then just to get familiar with it and see if whether or not we run into any issues. So I'm reading down here, and it says it could take anywhere from 10 minutes to over an hour to complete the engine. Sorry, to compile the engine. And if you want to shorten the time it takes to compile the engine, we recommend compiling the source code on a machine that has 8 gigs RAM or better with a multi-core processor. My system's not that bad, so hopefully it'll take not quite that much time, but depending on what system you have, it's giving the recommendation how long it might take to compile this. We haven't gotten to the compile step yet, so we'll let the generate project file script complete, and I might have to drop off again in case this takes much longer than expected, and we can come back and compare the output once it's done loading whatever the script is having it do. Oh, okay, so that went fairly quick, which is nice. Now it's saying that I can just run make, so I'll go ahead and do that. So far other than the long download times, I think this has gone a little bit smoother than before. And if I recall from before, I had to glue together actually a bunch of different tutorials, and I was kind of doing it all all in stride, kind so to speak, kind of. And this time the steps have been pretty close to what the tutorial has said. Knock on wood, we don't see any hiccups that we'll have to Google anything or look up what the error would be due to our system. Um, but so far so good. And then I'm expecting for once the end of this that I'll be able to just run the IDE and then maybe create a project and maybe I'll do that in a different video. But I'll let this complete and then we'll see if we can do all that as advertised, and we'll get to the launching of the IDE on our system. So that part I have done before, but I don't remember a lot, just because I was first getting into this quite a while ago. I'm pretty beginner level, which is good because it's saying that this is just this guide of getting started is just beginner level, but it is a lot of waiting. But it makes sense because there's a lot of files that need to be either downloaded or extracted from the source code, so that it's able to build this development thing. So I'm gonna drop off, and then I'll let you guys know when it's done, and then we'll have a look at that time. Okay, hey, what's up, guys? We're back on the continuation of this video. So I was able to get to the very last step, or I think close to it. So I was able to build the source code for the Unreal Engine 4. So it took a little while, but again, like I just saw it complete now. Um, so I think we're pretty much would be wrapping up with the video. Um, the final step is just to make sure that it builds. And then the next steps would be just running the editor and then getting familiar with it. So just as a quick sanity check, I'll run the editor if I can find it. Should be somewhere in here. Okay. Editor. No. Under engine, and then binaries, and then Linux. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. It's a lot of stuff. So fingers crossed, and then I'm expecting that the editor will run. You can see it doing a bunch of stuff. Oh, okay, so it looks like we got our first error. I don't really know what this means. So probably what I'll do now is I'll do another drop, and then I'll try to come up with what the workaround is, and maybe I might have to like Google it or something, just so that I can get it to run. And then we'll come back and we'll see what the resolution was. So just bear with me for a bit, and then I'll see if I can find out here what exactly the issue is that we're seeing. Okay. Hey, what's up, guys? Back again now with the final installment, and I actually have some good news. So after doing a few tweaks in one of the configuration files, I was able to find the setting that made it so that I could basically run the editor, which was all I was trying to do since the last installment. So what you need to do here is I'll just go into it for your example, um, so that you can understand what needed to be done. So I found out that that there's something called the Vulkan API, and basically I guess the newer versions of the Unreal Engine are going to use that to tie that in with basically newer graphics cards, newer CPUs and GPUs, and I think this is the case whether you're using either Windows or Linux, but I could be wrong on that. Just based on my research, this is what I found. So unfortunately, because it was kind of a big pain to actually try to install this Vulkan thing on my system, the quick fix that I opted for as a workaround was just to go with the OpenGL4. So what you has seen me do just now is basically make this commented out with a semicolon and remove the semicolon on this particular line. And then I'm just gonna write the changes and quit in my VI editor. And this time I'm gonna run the same binary for Linux as before. And fortunately for us, this time I'll just give it a sec. But I'm pretty sure I've done this several times now, and there you can see that it just gives this warning, which you can just say okay. But this time around, the editor comes up, and that's great because that's basically what we were setting out to do in the video. So all that stuff, all that stuff aside, that the fact that it took a really long time in some cases, but um, we were able to get to the point from installing the editor and building it up from the raw source code, and then basically seeing that we're able to upgrade the software and compile the whole thing and configure it and run it without too much hassle. We didn't really have to become an expert so far on how this whole thing really works. So we basically could see that if you just go step by step, then you'd be able to get to this point. I would expect there may be some exceptions, but for the most part, it seems to be working as intended. So if there's anything else that you guys have questions on, feel free to drop me a comment or a question down in the comments section below. And if I have a chance, I'll definitely come around and try to respond to your questions. I can share with you any material or knowledge that I have from doing this whole thing. And what's coming up right here is basically that we're gonna create a new project, but given that it's gotten pretty late into the video, I think we're gonna have to save that for another video. But for now, save your questions, save your comments, and maybe for the next video, I'll be able to get into those kind of things. And you never know, there might be other videos out there that cover this next section phase a lot better. As you can see, it's basically explaining the same thing here, but this interface is actually, I think, newer, or maybe I'm just not familiar with it yet, that once we choose what type of game or project that we want to build, that will come up with this next screen. So just FYI, I'm pretty sure the version I just built was like 4.24 or 4.23. I'm not too sure, but somewhere around there. And whereas the last time I made a video like this, I think it was all the way back at 4.11, as far as I can remember. So hopefully this gets you guys amped up to learn about this whole open source project. It's not. It's obvious if you actually know the Unreal games, you know that there's a lot of different games that are built on this engine. So it's not just for like amateur game development. It's pretty widespread use in a lot of different games that are already out there and that you might already play, whether on like Xbox or PC or PS4. So it's pretty cool. There's probably is some learning curve to it, but that's what this is for. It's just to normalize so that everybody can get a baseline of where you're at with the development and see where it goes from there. Um, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As mentioned, feel free to drop me a comment in the comments below, or subscribe to the video. Maybe I'll subscribe to the channel. I mean, and maybe I'll create a few more of these videos as I find time to. And I think that's everything. So assuming we covered everything, thanks again for watching, and uh, I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, thanks. Bye.